Welcome to Transparency from Farm to Market. Today's webinar is about the USDA's Process Verified program. Our presenters are going to be Jeff Waite and Angie Snyder. Today's webinar is sponsored by the North Central Regional Aquaculture Center, Purdue Department of Forestry and Natural Resources, Illinois Extension, and Illinois and Indiana State. My name's Amy Schambach. I'm going to be the moderator. So with that, I would like to introduce our speakers. Today, we have Jeff Waite. He is the Chief of the Livestock and Poultry Programs Auditing Branch with USDA's Agricultural Marketing Service, and Angie Snyder, the Director of Quality Assessment Division of the Livestock and Poultry Program in the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Agriculture Marketing Services.
Thank you, Amy. I'll give a little bit more background about what I do. I'm Angie Snyder. I do direct the very large quality assessment division in the livestock and poultry program of the Agricultural Marketing Service. I have about 850 people across the country who perform a very wide range of services. Some of those are graders. They grade meat, poultry, and shell eggs. So if you've ever bought USDA prime beef or grade A poultry, or if you've seen US grade A eggs at the store, we're behind that. I also have a very robust team of auditors who carry out a wide range of auditing services. I'll let Jeff say a little bit more about himself. I'll just add before I do, I've been with USDA about 32 years. I don't feel any older, but everybody who comes in to join us at work seems younger and younger.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Jeff Waite. I'm the Chief of the Audit Services Branch within AMS's Livestock and Poultry Program. I oversee a whole host of audit marketing programs, but they're audit and verification focused. We have about 25 folks in our branch, primarily auditors that are auditing a whole host of companies from various industries from coast to coast, and it's really their full-time job. So, but these are marketing services, and this program you're going to hear about today is one such service, the Process Verified program, and we're going to go into some nice detail on it, I think, and then leave it all to your questions and Q&As at the end. Thank you.
Well, in late 2020, Jeff and I participated in some listening sessions with the aquaculture industry about marketing in particular. And to start that discussion, we posed two questions to that group that we'll repeat here today. And they are on the screen right now, and I'll read them. What marketing challenges confront your industry? And what is something you wish your customers knew about your products? As you're thinking about these questions, let me give you a little bit of background on our agency, which is the Agricultural Marketing Service, or AMS for short. Our mission is to facilitate the marketing of agricultural products. We do this by offering a variety of services to help the agricultural sector differentiate their products in the marketplace. I briefly touched on grading, but today we're going to talk about verification service. Jeff, could you advance the slide, please?
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Did you see it? Okay.
Yeah, the USDA Process Verified program is one of our premier verification service programs. It comes with a marketing shield, shown here, and offers our customers a unique way to market products to their customers using clearly defined and transparent process points. I won't go into the weeds, but the Process Verified program follows ISO standards as a format for evaluation. The Process Verified program is voluntary, not regulatory. It's audit-based, and it's user fee funded. It's completely and totally a marketing program. Standards and process points are chosen by applicants and verified by AMS through independent audits. The program is completely transparent. We list process verified programs, standards, and claims on our PVP website, and we'll give you the link to that site at the end of our presentation. An approved process verified program could encompass as broad or as narrow a scope as desired. What we care about on our end is whether the standard is verifiable and repeatable. There are a few other points. For example, we don't audit regulatory requirements, but the big points for us are whether we can verify a standard and do it repeatedly.
To follow up on various PVP claims, you can see some basic ones that you'll find on our website. Angie just referred to as our official listing for approved PVP programs. But here are a couple examples of those. You also see to the right a few labels where Purdue Foods and Tyson is making and using the shield and making various claims. So as a short list, we've got age and source verified is often a common program and claim. No antibiotics ever or responsible antibiotic use, raised on a vegetarian diet, say for poultry, no hormones or steroids, or raised in accordance with industry standards. So this program is available to all ag industries. So to give you an example of some PVP products and claims that aren't listed here, we do have a non-GMO claim for corn, canned corn, and we also have a source verified honey program as well. So here's a few labels expanding on Purdue that are really serve as nice examples for the process verified program with the shield. You can see the shield is there on the both product labels and the associated claims. You can see the check marks there to the right of the process verified shield for those claims. You know, you'll not only see these on the products, but if you refer back to the website, this company is also listed there with the associated approval and claims as well. So we do review the PVP materials such as labels for proper use of the shield and the related claims. And here is a nice brochure that I dug up off the server, prior approval again, that's really a nice example of a non-label. And on this brochure, they opted not to use the shield, but they did want to reference the USDA process verified name, which is at the bottom, sort of the middle area. And of course, the website is there to the right as well. So anyone can look towards, look at the official listing that's on our website for this particular company and see some of these very same claims. And again, just like the labels, we'll review such brochures for proper use of the program name, shield, related claims, etc. And then I just wanted to dig in a little bit, not too deep, but at least go through the basic 4 simple steps of how the PVP process works. Really starts with the development, and then our review, the on-site audit, and then the approval. So the subsequent slides that I'm going to get into here in a second, when you get to the PVP website page, and we reference that in various points in here, and you could just Google USDA process verified program and it'll come up. But on that page itself, there's an infographic, which you'll see in the subsequent slides. What I did with that infographic is I kind of split it up, so because it does talk about the specific processes outlined here, the 4 steps, but it is also serving as an example of no antibiotics ever standard, say in poultry production. We created it a number of years, but it does speak nicely to these 4 steps and is also speaking to the non-antibiotic use and us going to verify, processes and requirements at, say, associated farms, feed mills, hatcheries. If you're thinking about antibiotics, these things can be used in those relative facilities, and certainly the processing facility. So I can envision a similar antibiotic, maybe use standard implemented within aquaculture, and a whole host of other types of standards that we could verify and approve. So this is kind of the top of that infographic. For the development phase, you'll want to contact AMS in the beginning to present your standard and submit an application. A lot of that first contact is mostly about questions. Awful lot of folks have questions about the program, of course, and they have interest in, and they want to market their standards and make claims. But it usually starts with a lot of questions, and maybe, this one-on-one that we're having today, where we're going through, the requirements and what's involved. But you also want to have a documented program when you submit your application. It's got to be a documented program. It's got to include procedures, records, policies that support the standard. It's that standard that you're trying to have verified. We'll evaluate that program and determine if we can proceed under the process verified program. And it's important to note that we have two relatively important procedures that actually you can see and download their PDF attachments on the PVP website, which are the QAD 1001 procedure. That's the overarching program requirement document. And then the QAD 1000, the 1000 general policies and procedures, is the secondary document that's there that highlights the audit process, kind of what I'm covering here with all of you. And it's also located on the website. So for review, the review phase, the complete application is submitted to AMS Program Review Committee, which reviews all the process points, your overall application, and approves the application. Next, what happens is it's assigned to an auditor. Like I said earlier, we have almost 2 dozen and a half auditors presently. So, they will do the desk audit. It will be signed to them, the entire program. They'll do the desk audit to ensure all the program requirements are accounted for and documented within the company's program. The on-site audit is really the next phase and can last anywhere from a day to a week, but it really depends on the number and scope of the process points and the size and complexity of the operation. I've seen some take very few days, and some where we've got to go to multiple facilities, multiple companies. It can take a little longer. But throughout the process, the company employees are interviewed, of course. Documentation is verified. We go through records to ensure the company is familiar with and adhering to the program requirements. But in all cases, this is your standard in your program that you've implemented. So these are things that you're doing that we're just verifying. And then using this, expanding on this antibiotic use infographic that I diced up in 4 ways, it was again about antibiotic use. So auditors will verify antibiotic use at the feed mills, which is speaking to the left side of the page, and the hatcheries, that to ensure feed is not included with any antibiotics and poultry are not administered antibiotics. And then, of course, the top, this is the bottom part of that infographic. The top here is talking about the farm. Well, of course, auditors will verify antibiotic use at farms. We're not going to at all go to all farms. We can't possibly go to all the poultry farms around a complex, but we will randomly select some farms that are populated at the time. So where poultry is raised, to ensure, again, that antibiotics, if they're used, those treated poultry are removed from the program and diverted to, say, conventional product. And then lastly, the most important part on the bottom here, it's talking about approval, the final stage. So if the desk audit goes well, the on-site audit goes well, the requirements are met, the company is approved and may begin using the USDA Process Verified Program Shield, which you saw on the previous examples on the labels. So that is certainly a great marketing option and potential for companies that have applied and get approved. The new programs that are approved last about 1 year, but surveillance audit is conducted within 6 months for new programs of the initial on-site audit. That's mostly to verify that records and implementation are in fact in place. A lot of these, in many cases, when we go to the first initial audit, companies are still trying to implement, they're still trying to put together records and all of that. So after that first year, when we come back at 1 year, then the audits are conducted annually after that. So to ensure transparency, AMS will post a list of the companies, all companies with approved PVPs, as I mentioned earlier. You can find that official listing on our website as well. It's sort of towards the bottom. And it lists, of course, the audited process points, the standards behind those processing points, the claims, and all the details regarding the certification. And then a quick note about approval timeline. The process from applying to final approval can last anywhere from 2 to 8 months, depending on the number and scope of the process verified points. You know, I've seen companies apply just one facility, one sort of claim with one standard, and it can be relatively done quickly. But then I've seen, as I mentioned, multiple facilities, a number of verified points. But it also has to do with this time, range, has to do with the responsiveness of the applicant and just the complexity of the program and the size, of course. So I also want to note that this marketing service, the Process Verified program, is like many others in my branch, that it's a fee-for-service marketing program. So under a fee-for-service, auditors will charge an hourly rate for their time plus travel expenses to perform the audit.
We wanted to give you an idea of how this might look in the wild when people use the process program. Chick-fil-A and other restaurant chains, such as McDonald's, Panera Bread, and KFC, also use the Process Verified program to require their chicken vendors to meet their antibiotic use standards. Jeff talked about the stages of our audits and where we audit, and he used the antibiotic example just recently. So when we had a program with Chick-fil-A, with McDonald's, with Panera Bread, with KFC, we would audit at every single level. We audit at the farm, we audit at the plant, we audit at every stage along the way, and we don't necessarily hit every single farm every year. We take a sampling, so we hit a sample of farms every year. And that also can help spread the cost around because it's again over time. The Chick-fil-A testimonial here reads that the USDA Process Verified program helps us continuously verify that all of our suppliers are meeting our commitment to no antibiotics ever. This is a Tyson example. Tyson uses the USDA Process Verified program, and they say that this provides added assurance that our products meet our customers' standards. And you can see the USDA Process Verified shield right next to the Grade A shield on that package. Marcho Farms is a veal and lamb processor, and this also is an approved Process Verified company. This testimonial speaks to the Process Verified program helping them to create world-class veal and lamb products that are verified by an AMS auditor to ensure that their customers receive the most consistent, highest quality product. Cargill is a meat and poultry processor, and it's also an approved process verified company. So I hope you have seen by now that it can be an individual company that could request a process verified program, or it could be a larger company or corporation, or even an association that can ask for a certain level of service or a level of standard for all of their processors and suppliers to follow. But Cargill says that the process verified program helps them assure that their customers are getting exactly what the package says they're getting. So we're going to circle back to the questions that we asked at the beginning of this presentation. What marketing challenges confront your industry? Some things that we heard from the listening sessions included some frustrations with foreign competition. It included some frustrations with the consumer notion that wild caught surpasses farm raised in quality. There are also some issues with mislabeling. We provided just a very, very short overview of our flagship audit verification program, but not our only one, and that's the USDA Process Verified program. We gave some examples of some marketing claims that we already verify. That's certainly not the limit of what we can do. We also asked, what is something you wish that your customers knew about your products? If they're farm raised, do you wish that your customers knew what that meant, that you could control feed, that you could control conditions? Is it something you want to emphasize that it's US product? Through our testimonials, we have shown the marketing value and the potential that's often sought after by many of our customers. But if you look at these challenges that you have and things that you wish that you could demonstrate, the Process Verified program might be something that could help. If so, we would love to help. We also have a suite of other products and services that may help as well. So I'm going to open it to the floor to say, how can we help you?
Angie, open it up to the floor. If you have a specific need that you want to see if they have a program or a service that could help your farm, go ahead and put it in the chat window. So one, Kwamina is asking, is sustainability a processing point, or excuse me, a process point?
Jeff, would you like to field that one?
Yeah, certainly. So like many of our standards that we're verifying for industry, we're seeing certainly a lot of interest in that area of sustainability. So we actually have a few of them that are approved claims under some of our companies that are on the official listing. So yes, sustainability, we can audit that through the PVP. But here's the caveat with any of our programs that we're auditing and companies are developing. One of the premier areas that we focus in on with regards to the standard is it auditable? Is it factual? Is it feasible to audit? Can it meet these criteria so that we can audit it? So regarding sustainability, there has to be some level of requirements, parameters around sustainability, records that we can verify to support the procedures that are implemented in the standard itself. So yes, we have done, audited sustainability, and we see that as certainly a growth standard down the road. But what will be key is how it's defined and what's put into the standard from a documentation level that is auditable. Thank you.
And I'll add to that. Jeff can correct me if I'm wrong. We want to make sure that what we're verifying is a management practice or some kind of business practice, and not just to say that an industry is sustainable or a product is sustainable. We're looking at the specific management practice, something that we can call out and, as Jeff said, verify and point to. And we also work very closely with whatever group would be responsible for labeling that product. So on the poultry side and on the meat side, it's the Food Safety and Inspection Service. But we've also worked with other regulatory agencies on labeling to make sure that whatever we might approve would be possible to put on a label, because we wouldn't want to deliver something to you that you couldn't then end up using in marketing. That wouldn't be very effective for you.
Right. Angie, I'll just add on to that. On the other side of regulatory areas, which is mostly FDA, we have reached out for non-GMO type claims and others with those sort of programs, and really having a nice exchange with FDA and FSIS within that USDA regarding some of these claims. So sometimes that happens as well. But you're right, Angie. Thanks for adding that.
Okay, next question from Theo is, how does PVP compare to USDA's organic certification?
That's a really good question, because USDA National Organic Program is also a marketing program, but that is defined in regulation. So if somebody wishes to be certified as organic, then they follow the National Organic Program's steps. They use the auditor accreditation defined under that program. Fun fact, we do conduct some audits for the National Organic Program, but it is under that framework. It's not under the Process Verified Program. With the Process Verified Program, unlike the National Organic Program standards that are very well defined in regulation, anybody who wants to use the Process Verified Program can write their own standards. It could be whatever's important to you to call out. It could be whatever you want to convey to somebody else. We will not dictate that as long as it's not already defined in regulation. The sky is the limit as to what you want to put in it and how you shape it. And if you do go to our website, which we'll show at the end of this presentation, you can see that a lot of the standards are quite similar. And that's fine with us, because people have dug in where they want to dig in. They've defined it how they want to define it.
Yeah, I'll just add real quick to that, Angie, just so everyone's clear that you won't ever see a USDA organic claim under the PVP. So because they're completely separate programs with separate requirements, they don't overlap at all. Just want to make sure everyone knows that. Great question.
I have a question before you guys go on. One of the things that has been difficult for some farmers in the region for third-party verification is cost. And so you did mention that there would be a fee for paying for that annual auditor. Do you have an idea what the ballpark is that farms are paying annually to be able to be PVP certified?
Angie, if you want, I'll tackle that one. So yes, there is a cost, as I mentioned earlier. It is a fee-for-service program. But with this program, because of the complexity typically of a submitted program, if it involves multiple facilities, if it involves a whole host of different standards or process points that we're verifying, I would say the range is anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000 to get a program up and running from our side, in terms of an auditor actually conducting the audit, doing the desk audit, conducting the on-site, coming back and do a surveillance audit. That's sort of where the range is for that, for these audits. But that's not speaking to the company's internal expense to develop the program, right? That's simply the program that, for the audit and the service and the time of the auditor and those expenses that are associated. That's where that range is, 3,000 to 8,000. But again, it's going to take companies, it usually takes companies some time to assemble their program, implement their program. There's all of those internal costs, of course.
And you said that was to get it up and running. Does that annual cost go down when after you've already been approved and then you have your one annual audit a year?
Right, it can, exactly. Once we get to that annual, after that first year, and we get to the annual audit, and again, based on the complexity, that cost usually can drop and usually does drop. In addition to that, auditors are much more familiar with the program, you know, after they've gone back a few times. And companies are also more ready typically in the future on audits, on surveillance audits. They have all the documentation. They just present it to us and we can go through it because we know the facilities, we know the people, we know the claims. Typically the cost will drop because of just basic familiarity with the program itself. And I'll lastly add that our auditors are always trying to prorate. I mean, if there's 2 audits in the area, we will always try to prorate or share costs, travel costs when we can, because our auditors are located coast to coast. In many times during a week, they will go out and do a handful of audits during a week, and therefore kind of prorate the cost, and that always brings the cost down when they do that. Great question.
Yeah, and I might add, Jeff talked about the familiarity. A lot of the efficiency of the audit is based on the company where we're going. And we are never going to show up unannounced. You'll always know and agree to the date, and you'll have a list of what you need to have available and present. And so auditors, when they walk in and all of the documents are available and the people at the facility are available, it goes very, very smoothly. Where documents aren't there, where they can't be found, where it takes a while to run them down, that's where some added expense can come in.
Yeah, and I'll add to that too, Angie. Great points. That even before we set foot on site at any facility, the individual, the company representative that we're working with will have already received an audit plan, which details the specifics of the audit and a cost estimate. So they already have seen these 2 documents and have agreed to them both, or they may have questions, so they can go back to the auditor and maybe make changes to the audit plan. But that's all previously done before anyone sets foot, any auditor. So there's for complete transparency in the cost and the plan.
That was our last question in the chat window.
Well, we have the website listed here, and if you want more information, you can always go here. We're in the process of updating our site a little bit, so you might see a bit of construction going on, but we're trying to make it easier to navigate and list our programs that exist in a more streamlined way.
And I'll just say I appreciate very much the opportunity, Amy, for you to set this up and your team, and for everyone's participation. I truly look forward to any future questions or discussion on this program and any other future involvement. So I just appreciate truly everyone's time and attention to this program. Thank you.
And we're happy to continue conversations, to answer questions, to do follow-ups, just to help you explore what might be a solution for you.
Does anybody else have any last-minute questions, knowing we're coming to an end? Okay, well, I'll give people just a moment in case they're typing in their windows. So this was the 4th webinar in our webinar marketing series for aquaculture. Our 5th webinar is scheduled for April the 20th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to be looking at what buyers want, which is going to be a panel discussion. We're going to have a representative from distribution and processing, somebody from the restaurant sector, and then another representative from live haulers and brokers. I don't see any more questions coming in. So Jeff and Angie, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate you walking us through this program.
It was our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.